What if some of the most mythical-looking creatures in history were not myths at all? A bear called the Silver One, an eagle powerful enough to attack prey 15 times its weight, and a river dolphin that disappeared within our lifetime. These are 7 extraordinary animals the world may never see again. 7. Nandi bear. Picture the highlands of western Kenya after midnight. The fog low, the cattle restless, and somewhere beyond the huts, something massive moving through the dark. Meet the Nandi bear. Some called it chemosit, others called it carrot. But the word bear is already part of the problem, because Kenya has no living native bears today. Witnesses described a heavy, shaggy animal with raised shoulders, a sloping back, and a head some compared to a hyena, a bear, or something much older. It was said to raid livestock, attack people, then vanish before anyone could bring back proof. For a while, some explorers wondered if it might be a living chalicothere, an extinct mammal with long claws and a sloping body. That sounds terrifying, until you learn the twist. Chalicotheres were actually herbivores that ate plants, not night predators stalking villages after dark. So what was the Nandi bear? Many reports were probably misidentified animals: hyenas, honey badgers, baboons, or stories blended over time. No confirmed body was ever found. No clear photograph ended the argument. And science has never proved that a separate Nandi bear species exists. But the next beast is harder to dismiss completely, because it comes from a place where the trees hide more than they reveal. 6. The Mexican grizzly bear. Long before jaguars became Mexico's most famous large predator, another giant ruled its northern mountains. The Mexican grizzly bear was a southern population of the North American brown bear. It lived across northern Mexico and parts of the southwestern United States, particularly in mountainous forests and open grasslands. But this was not the dark brown grizzly most people imagine. Its fur could appear pale yellow, grayish-white, or silver, earning it the Spanish name El Oso Plateado, the silver bear. Some descriptions place its average weight near 318 kilograms, or about 700 pounds, making it one of the largest land mammals in Mexico. Despite that intimidating size, it was actually an omnivore. Much of its diet likely consisted of plants, fruits, and insects, although it also ate carrion and small animals. Its downfall began when ranching expanded into its territory. Because the bears occasionally attacked cattle, farmers treated them as pests. They were trapped, poisoned, and shot until only a few isolated populations remained in Chihuahua. By 1960, estimates suggested that perhaps only 30 survived. The bear was considered extinct by 1964, although a possible confirmed brown bear was shot in Sonora in 1976. No surviving population has ever been verified. 5. Schomburgk's deer. In the wetlands of central Thailand lived a deer whose magnificent antlers resembled an elaborate crown of a mythical king. The male Schomburgk's deer carried enormous basket-shaped antlers that branched into more than 30 points. From a distance, the animal may have looked like something imagined for a fantasy kingdom. The species lived in the swampy plains and tall grasslands of the Chao Phraya River Valley. But during the rainy season, rising floodwater forced entire herds onto small patches of higher ground. Those temporary islands became deadly traps. Hunters could surround the stranded animals, leaving them with almost nowhere to escape. At the same time, wetland and grassland habitats were increasingly converted into rice fields. By 1932, the last widely accepted wild individual had been killed. One tame deer reportedly survived at a temple until 1938. It was then killed by a drunken man who may have mistaken it for a wild animal. Only one complete mounted specimen is known today. In 1991, a final mystery surfaced across the border in Laos, a pair of remarkably fresh-looking antlers resembling those of Schomburgk's deer. Could the species have endured unseen? The evidence raised questions, but it was not enough to prove that the species had survived. To this day, the crowned deer of Thailand is officially extinct. 4. The great auk. At first sight, the great auk seemed like a penguin lost in the wrong half of the world. But this imposing, flightless seabird belonged to the North Atlantic, where it hunted beneath icy waters and returned to remote rocky islands to breed. Despite their striking resemblance, great auks were not close relatives of modern penguins. In fact, the name penguin may originally have been applied to the great auk before sailors used it for similar-looking birds in the southern hemisphere. Yet on land, this master swimmer became slow, exposed, and easy to catch. Sailors and hunters killed great auks for meat, bait, oil, and feathers. Some colonies were slaughtered in enormous numbers. As the species became rare, museum collectors began paying increasingly high prices for skins and eggs. Rarity did not save the great auk, it only made the bird more valuable. In June 1844, hunters reached Eldey Island near Iceland and found what is generally regarded as the last confirmed breeding pair. Both adults were killed, and their only egg was crushed during the struggle. Later sightings of the doomed seabird were reported, including one in 1852, but no trace of a surviving population was ever confirmed. 3. The Caspian tiger. Imagine a deadly striped predator moving silently through the deserts and river valleys of Central Asia. The Caspian tiger once ranged across an enormous region stretching through parts of Turkey, Iran, the Caucasus, Central Asia, and Western China. Unlike tigers of the dense tropical forests, Caspian tigers moved along rivers, reed beds, and narrow ribbons of woodland surrounded by dry, open country. Caspian tigers hunted wild boar, deer, and other large prey. Historical accounts described them as powerful, broad-bodied predators, protected from the colder reaches of their kingdom by long, dense winter fur. But the riverlands that sustained them were slowly drained, cleared, and turned into farmland. Governments and settlers also organized predator control campaigns, while hunting reduced both the tigers and the animals they depended on for food. The population collapsed region by region. The exact date of extinction is difficult to establish because possible sightings continued for decades. A scientific account reported that the last known Caspian tiger was shot in Turkey in February 1970, although the population had disappeared from many areas much earlier. The Caspian tiger's story has one extraordinary twist. Genetic research found that it was extremely closely related to the surviving Amur tiger of the Russian Far East. That connection has inspired projects proposing the introduction of Amur tigers into restored parts of the Caspian tiger's former range. It would not bring the Caspian tiger back from extinction, but it could at least return a tiger to the river valleys it once ruled. 2. The Baiji. The Baiji was often called the goddess of the Yangtze. For generations, this rare river dolphin moved through China's longest river, almost invisible beneath its muddy surface. It could barely rely on sight, but the murky Yangtze had taught it another way to see. By sending out clicks and reading the echoes, it detected prey, obstacles, and the shape of the river itself. Then the Yangtze became one of the most heavily developed waterways on Earth. Ships multiplied, dams divided the river, pollution increased, while electric fishing, rolling hooks, and entanglement in nets killed dolphins directly. Each new pressure made survival more difficult. By the 1990s, the population had fallen to dangerously low numbers. In 2006, an international research team conducted an extensive search of the river. They found none. The Baiji was declared functionally extinct, making it the first cetacean believed to have been driven to extinction by human activity in modern times. Because no body marked the final death, scientists remain cautious. The species is still classified as critically endangered, possibly extinct. It is one of the saddest stories in the natural world. A dolphin once worshipped as a river goddess disappeared from the only home it had known for millions of years. 1. The Zanzibar leopard. On the island of Unguja once lived a leopard so secretive that even in life it was surrounded by legend. The Zanzibar leopard was isolated from mainland populations for thousands of years. Over time, it developed a smaller body and unusually dense, broken markings that helped it vanish into the island's forests. But its greatest enemy was not another predator. It was fear. Traditional stories claimed that witches raised leopards, controlled them through magic, and used them to punish their enemies. These beliefs fueled organized efforts to eradicate the animal. As villages and farmland spread, the remaining leopards lost both territory and protection. By the early 1980s, confirmed sightings had stopped. Later scientific surveys failed to find clear tracks, remains, or photographs, and the subspecies was widely believed to be gone. Then, decades later, a camera trap captured a leopard-like animal on the island. The footage reignited the mystery, but proved nothing. Without DNA or a verified specimen, no one could determine exactly what had been filmed. Today, the Zanzibar leopard survives in an uneasy space between extinction and possibility. A creature once hunted as a monster has now become one of Africa's most haunting wildlife mysteries. Subscribe for more forgotten creatures and extraordinary animal stories, and let us know in the comments which of these 7 extinct animals you would bring back.